Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another impromptu last minute edition of Wade Watches. I'm Wade. Welcome to another outdoors edition of Wade Watches. I haven't done one of these in forever. Wasn't planning on doing one of these, but life be lifing, and I'm just trying to get caught up on my reviews. So I'm continuing on with my Black Movies Matter BMM series, year long, as often as possible, as frequently as I can, as promised. And if you guys saw my last BMM review, you know I'm like looking at like black-led horror films in honor of The Woman in the Yard, which comes out today actually, and Ryan Coogler's Sinners, which comes out in April. So just in the mood for some black-led, black-driven horror films. And for today's review, on that note, I'm going to be doing my super quick review of Us, because I'm outdoors in public, so I'm going to keep this very brief. But it's directed by Jordan Peele, stars Lupita Nyong'o, Winston Duke, Elizabeth Moss, and a bunch of other Elizabeth Moss and a bunch of other talented folks. And honestly, it was a toss-up between deciding to review Get Out or Us, but I guess I decided on Us because between like Get Out and Us is actually the film that I haven't seen since it came out in theaters 6 years ago in 2019. Get Out is one of those movies that I just rewatch so like often and frequently, and long story short, I love that movie. I love the metaphors about racial biases and all that good stuff. So just for, I guess, the sake of variety for myself, I decided to go with Us because I haven't seen that movie in 6 years. And first thing to say is that I thought this then, and I think this now. This is easily Jordan Peele's scariest, like downright scariest film to date. All three of the films he's directed so far are technically horror films. It's like an unofficial horror trilogy. But this is easily the scariest, like the most eerie, just the downright the most sinister one. In terms of like cinematography, in terms of story, just like everything on the whole, even like the soundtrack, I feel like is even more haunting than Get Out. And Get Out had a pretty creepy opening theme. Like everything in Us is just like just Jordan Peele at his like scariest, like pretty much outright, in my opinion. And I love that. I really do thoroughly enjoy that. I'm glad that Us was like and is just a straight up horror movie, just like this straight up grisly, gruesome, creepy, unsettling horror film with some pretty solid performances from across the board. Like 10 out of 10 performances for everybody who obviously has to play two different versions of themselves, because if you know, this film deals with like evil doppelgangers. And the main thing for me was I like how the movie makes you think like this is just going to be like, evil clones, slasher film, evil clones going after their original counterparts, trying to kill them. And then as the movie goes on, you discover that there's definitely more going on here. There's a deeper meaning to everything, of course. And that like this is, I don't want to give anything away, obviously, but it's bigger than you could have ever could have initially imagined. So I loved all that stuff. I enjoyed just like how downright creepy this movie truly is. I was kind of worried about that when I first saw it in 2019, like before going into it, just going by the trailers, use the song I Got Five on it. I was thinking that it wouldn't be as wouldn't be as creepy or as scary as I would have hoped it to be before seeing it. I was just thinking, okay, so it's just going to be evil clones going after the originals, trying to kill them. That's it. But after like actually seeing the movie, I was like, okay, this is actually incredibly creepy and incredibly scary and actually incredibly unsettling. So all of that is good. All of that works for it. However, and I hate to say this, the twist here, like I said, there is more going on, and as this goes on, you do discover that there is really more going on here. When what's revealed is revealed, I was like, yes, that's awesome. That's actually really clever. Tell me more about it. But then the movie doesn't really tell you more. And as a matter of fact, right when you discover like what's really going on here is when the movie more or less like kind of wraps up and then ends. And that's a bummer, because with that ending, like I said, from start to finish, this is easily Jordan Peele's scariest film. And even like that closing shot is just kind of like, well, damn, okay, that's fucked up, that's messed up. But I'm disappointed that they didn't at least slow down, at least in like one scene, to really elaborate on that reveal, elaborate on what's going on here, because I really liked where it was going. And that's ultimately the main thing that drags this down for me, because like I said, everything else is pretty excellent. Everything from the performances to the cinematography to the soundtrack, the story, other than that reveal kind of being like kind of shortchanged, was really working for me here. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Those are my thoughts on Us. Everything save for, I guess, the twist is really solid here, is really enjoyable. And on the whole, for the most part, I thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish, mainly because of the tone, mainly because, again, of how it's shot, how well it's acted and performed, especially by Lupita Nyong'o, who's like just like unearthly and unworldly here, and very, very haunting performance here. But yeah, like ultimately it's that twist that really kind of let me down a little bit, because they tell you what the twist is. They of course reveal something to you, but they don't really elaborate on it as much as I would have liked them to. So wrapping it up, I'm gonna go ahead and give Us an 8.5 out of 10. Still holds up, still a really solid movie, but if they have done a little bit more, I'm not asking for to be spoon-fed everything. I like Jordan Peele's like very metaphorical tone. I like how he does give you just enough to kind of like give you like kind of on the surface level make you understand what he's really trying to talk about here in his films. But I like how he doesn't just spoon feed you everything, but I could have used a little bit more elaboration on that twist when it's revealed. That's all I'm saying. But other than that, this is still a really solid movie. I still really enjoy it, and it's still very effective and quite creepy and quite haunting. And again, 8.5 out of 10 for Us. This has been another edition of Wave Watches, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.